Good morning, everyone. My name is Casey Samson. I'm from the Casey Samson team here at Samson Properties. And this is Coffee with Casey. We take some time out of our month to sit down, go over some of the important aspects of real estate. Today's show is probably going to be one of our featured shows that we'll ever have. We'll put this as number one. It's a very important show because before a seller selects a realtor, they really need to know what it is they're looking for, who they're looking for. Are they looking for an individual realtor? Are they looking for a small team? Or are they looking for a big team? So there's three different types of realtors that you can select. They're all very different. They all have different strategies, and they all have different success rates. So before you say which realtor I want, you need to know, am I looking for an individual? Am I looking for a team, small team, or am I looking for a big team? So we're going to go over that today. That's a very, very big decision to make. And you know, the reason why I got back into selling real estate back in 2007 is the difference between somebody doing it right and doing it wrong. I mean, it could be 10% of the value of your house is you make or don't make. So there's a lot of money at stake. Sellers only sell their house once every 20 years. So there are some very critical decisions they need to make. And so I got back into it because I realized it really was helping people to make sure that they get the max amount of money out of their property. So we're going to look at that. We're going to look at the question of the week this week at the Sun Gazette newspaper. Dan Fascioli asks, 12 or 15 top producers a question. And the question this week was, or this month was, if we dropped you any state in the union, could you price a house in that state? Could I go to Iowa and price a house? And I'm going to go over the answer and why I came up with that answer and even prove it out. And what some of the other answers were, which I found very interesting. And we'll go over stuff like that. But really, what I wanted to get to today is the big team, small team individual, okay? I've had shows that say it's not your parents' real estate market anymore, okay? Now, this is a different market that we live in today. It's different than it was 5 years ago or even 8 years ago. So there's certain things you need to have in order to do that. So let's examine an individual, a small team, and then I'm going to talk about the makeup of that small team and how people operate, how a team operates. So if you're one of 1,900 realtors here in Samson Properties and you're trying to figure out what is the best formula for you to conduct your business in, remember, realtors only have so much time, energy, and money. And if you waste it on something, you're making a huge mistake. So we'll talk about how realtors can move forward as well. So it would be a good show for the sellers. It'll be a good show for the real estate agents. So let's talk about the three. Let's identify what they are, first of all. A big team. Now you have big teams formed, and they may have 40 or 50 agents, and they all put their business under the name of one realtor. Really what it is 50 realtors. They're all under the management of one person, one team, if you will. And you'll know them because on the radio it sounds something like this. If we can't sell your house, we will buy it. Okay? So it's a pretty good claim. So if you can't sell my house for what we want, then you'll buy my house. Well, that sounds like a pretty dang good deal. So we're going to talk about how misleading that can be and how that's a pitfall that we're going to try and stay out of. But basically, a big team is 30, 40, 50 agents all under one person's name, and they put all their stuff in there. An individual agent is a rock star. Individual agent is somebody that has their name and their picture in the newspapers, and it's basically about that agent. And some of them are great, and they do a lot of good business. They've been around a long time. They built a very large book of business over the years. I take nothing away from individual realtors that are very large. But we're going to look at some of the pitfalls of that, some of the pitfalls of the big team. And then the third element is small team. Should we work with a small team? Okay? So before you even start talking about what realtor I want to work with, do I want an individual, do I want a big team, or do I want a small team? So let's talk about those. All right. So we know a big team has 40 to 50 agents. So let's talk about the pitfalls of working with a big team. First of all, I'm not as concerned, I'm a numbers guy. I'm a football coach. I keep score. I watch the score. So I want to know, not that you did $200 million worth of business, but I want to know other things like, if you have 100 listings, how many are under contract? Because that's very important. And if you put on 100 listings, how many sell and how many withdraw unsold? And that's called a success rate. So I want to focus on success rate and homes under contract, because that, to me, denotes whether, because as a listing agent, I'm going to go into somebody's house this afternoon and tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon, and I'm going to promise them that I'm going to put your house on the market. I have a strategy. We have a price. We're going to put it on the market. We're going to sell. How many of those actually sell? How many of them sell? I mean, that's a critical number. And when it sells, how close to the list price did we get? Because that's important too. We're talking about a market that if your house doesn't sell in the first 30 days, the value is going down. Okay? And then after 60 days, it goes down even further. So getting that house priced correctly on the market and sold is extremely important. So, I'm looking at success rate of 100 listings, how many are under contract? Well, let's take a team that says, and I'm not going to mention any names, that's not what I'm here for. I'm just here to dissect a big team versus an individual versus a small team. So I selected one of the big teams that does a lot of business, over 300 sales a year, and they do promote, if we can't sell it, we'll buy it. So to me, I would think, well, if you can't sell the house and you would buy it, it wouldn't expire or withdraw. You just go ahead and buy it. So I looked at the track record, and there's 336 houses that they had last year that they listed and they expired or withdrew. So that's 336 houses where the promise was made that I'm going to sell your house. The promise was not kept to sell your house. The promise was made they're going to buy your house if they can't sell it, and 336 times it was withdrawn or expired unsold. So, even though they sold 350, 360, they had 350, 360 withdrawn. So, I'm kind of scratching my head with how you can get away with, if I can't sell your house, I'll buy it. So as far as the big team is concerned, some of the drawbacks are the different layers you have, and of course, I have to make the decision whether I want to be an individual, a small team, or a large team. Certainly, I think if I put a call out to all the agents in Samson Properties who wants to be on my team, we could get 20, 30, or 40 pretty qualified agents to come in and be on the team. But here's the problem. The more agents you have, the farther away I get from each transaction, okay? And we're going to be talking about fire teams and how important fire teams are to Marines and Green Beret and realtors, okay? So if I have too many people, then I'm managing the people and I'm not managing each individual house. I'm not pricing the house. I'm not staging the house. I'm not marketing the house. I'm not dealing with contracts for that house. So the more houses we have, the more detached the principal becomes, whether it's Casey or whether it's some other agent that's the name of the team, the farther they become. So in fact, they become managers of teams, not managers of properties. And the reason I got back into this in 2007 was I wanted to focus on managing the property, figuring out what the price was, get the marketing strategy, get into your marketing people, and get it sold. So, large teams, the problem is they'll put, let's take example, the one team that I was looking at this morning. They have 109 listings on the market, and 30 of them are under 109 that are active, that are unsold, sitting on the market right now being marketed. 30 are under contract. So that is about a 22% under contract rate, which is not good. I mean, a small team or my team would usually have 60, 70, 80% of all of our listings. If I've got 10, 8 are under contract. So that's, when you put it on, you want to get it under contract. You don't want to have all these active listings. Remember, the longer it stays on the market, the less valuable it's going to be. So once you get in there, you can't sit on the market for a long time. So by the mere volume of listings active and the volume under contract, it tells me not a very successful program. And the problem is, we grow because the principals are supposed to be really good at what they do. Well, we're good at what we do selling houses, but when you take them out and you manage, now you have agents that have been in for 2, 3, or 4 years, pricing your house, giving you advice on staging it, all of that other stuff. I'm hoping if you call me, you're calling to get me and my expertise, not somebody on the team that I'm just going to turn you over to. So one of the pitfalls is management, is scale is just too big, is the principals can't spend the time with every individual listing like they really should, and the numbers weigh out that 50% of their team, of the properties that they list, go unsold. That to me is unacceptable. As a football coach, I can't stand to lose. Every time it withdraws or expires, that's a loss. So last year we lost 2 football games, and I started off the year with brown hair, and this is what I got at the end of the year just because we lost 2 football games. So I don't like to lose. If I'm going to put it on, we're going to sell it. So that's the issues and problems with going with a big team. To say I'm the number 1 team in all of Northern Virginia because I do $240 million or whatever, a little bit suspect because I'm not interested in how much you all do. Our office, Samson Properties, did, I don't know, what did Samson Properties do last year? 1.2 billion or 2 billion or, blah, 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 big numbers. It doesn't matter. What is your success rate of the person you're hiring to price, stage, and sell your house, okay? So that's kind of the big teams. An individual is a superstar that is very well known in their area, whether it's through signs, whether it's through advertising, whether it's through longevity, that they've been there a long time. They're very nice, they're very smart, and they're very good. They're very good. So when I first got into real estate in 2007, I just wanted to work as an individual. I didn't want to manage anybody. I don't want to deal with any of this team garbage, as Kelly, my daughter, keeps reminding me. I don't want to deal with any of that. Danny insisted that I contact and work with Julie Hart, who is one of the top assistants at Samson Properties. And to be honest with you, Danny insisted. He goes, you got to do it. So immediately my business took off. Why? Because Julie did all those things in the marketing department that, that's not what I do. I go out and find listings and sell them. So Julie and I worked great together and business really took off. Then Kelly, my daughter, came in and we started building a team. Well, there's a lot of stuff that Kelly can do, okay, that I was better served doing other things. You wouldn't have a surgeon do things that a doctor can do. A surgeon conducts surgery, doctor makes sure everything's okay, and you have nurses that do the blah, 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 blah. So there's a big team that helps everybody work. So when I got back in, I thought I wanted to be an individual, but I quickly found out that I was overwhelmed with the business that I had on my plate, and I couldn't spend the time that I needed on every house. So here's what happens. Kind of looked around at some of the bigger names that were in here. Found out one agent, he had $93 million worth of real estate active, and he had $3 million under contract. So you've got over $90 million worth of houses that you have to babysit with, every day. And how do you do that? I mean, I have no idea how I would manage $93 million worth of real estate that's not selling. So, the problem with an individual agent is they cannot do, each listing takes 100 items. There are 100 points of contact that you have on each listing. Everything from pricing the house, to staging the house, to getting this, to getting the brochures, to getting the signs, to do this, to follow up with realtors. And there's some important tasks. I'm going to talk about that later on, about how that's handled. But there are 100 things you have to do with each listing. Now, you can have an assistant that can do a certain number of those items. But they are not a licensed realtor that goes out and shows houses and follows up with agents and has feedback to sellers and can deal with contracts. There's only so much you can do with an agent. And somebody told me, well, she does all this business. She's really only got 2 part-time agents. My case in point. So an agent has, this one agent that I was looking at that we may refer to, has $55 million worth of active listings. 1.1 million are under contract. So 2% of her portfolio is under contract. So what that tells me is that 98% of the houses that she put on the market and said, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to sell them, are still sitting there. So to me, totally unacceptable, but a sign that they just can't manage that many properties. So you as a seller have to say, I need to give myself the highest percentage chance of success. So how do we measure that? One measurement is how many of your active listings are under contract. That's one. You've really got to be in the 50, 60, 70% range. And forget about me. Let's forget about the Casey Samson team. Let me draw your attention to another team. So there are small teams. The Wall Street Journal came out and they said, here's all the, team success. We broke it down by small team, big team. There are some great small teams out there. In Old Town Alexandria, there are two. And the one I'm looking at has 70% of their properties are under contract. Now remember, the individual agent, big name, has 2% under contract. The small team has 70% under contract. That is a huge difference. That's a massive difference. The big team has 25% under contract. So if I'm looking for my biggest chance of success in that category, the small team is 3 times better than the big team and 100 times better than a large individual agent as far as that form of success. Now, this is not unusual if you go to any small teams. If I were to list my house and I was not a realtor in Vienna, there are 2 people I would go to, and they run small teams. Not big teams, but small teams. I would never list with some of the bigger names. I would list with people that run efficient, good, small teams. So the level of success when we talk about homes under contract, small team, 70%. Big team, 25%. Large individual, not every newspaper, 2%. Got to make your decision on that. Now, let's talk about if I list your house, is it going to sell? And again, we're just going to compare, not me, we're going to compare small team, big team, individual. So for the big team, 53% of their homes actually sell. So 47% withdraw unsold. So they're about 50, let's call them 50-50. You got a 50-50 shot that it's going to sell. The individual agent that lists a lot of houses, throws them up, they sell, their name's everywhere, signs are very important to them. So that big individual agent that, is a sample that I looked at, 44% of her houses sold. So 56% of those homes did not sell. So, 50% didn't sell of the big team, 55% didn't sell of the one agent. And again, these are signs that I've got too many listings, I can't manage them. The small team, the subject team in Old Town Alexandria that I just grabbed this morning to look at, 96% of her houses sold. Now, the headline is I did $57 million for that small team. I think the headline should be I sold 96% of my houses last year. The big team's going to say I did $250 million last year. Who do you pick, the 250 or the 57? The 57, because their success rates were much higher. So if you look at the small teams that are forming, now let's talk about, why you have to have a team, why you have to have any team, why not an individual? Well, we've just seen that the track record of the individual actually falls behind even the big teams and way behind the small teams. So the answer to your question is you need to have a small team. And now I'm going to tell you why you need to at least have a small team, okay? So the Marines have a thing called fire team, and the Marines travel in packs of 4. We have 4 fire teams per squad. We have 3 squads per platoon. At least we did when it was my day. And then you have a couple platoons for a company. But the Marines really fight in teams of 4, okay? And the Green Beret, if you look at them, they have small teams. They've got an expert medic, and these are the Green Berets. They've got a medic. They've got a weapons guy. They've got a navigation guy. They have somebody that has expertise in all of these spots, and they fight together, okay? SEALs, teams, small teams, not big teams, small teams. Part of a bigger unit, but small teams. That's how they fight. So when we go in from a real estate team, this is what you can expect. This is how ours is made up, and it's probably extremely similar to the rest of these small teams. You have one agent that is the principal, and they've spent 20, 30 years doing this. They're experts at what they do. They have a protocol that over the years they've developed that this is how we're going to deal with contracts. This is how we're going to deal with home inspections. This is how you deal with staging a house. This is how you deal with pricing a house. So all these things, they've developed the system over the years, okay? But if you take that principle out of the house and let somebody else price it or let somebody else stage it, you're not going to get the same quality. So that's why these agents, and I'm going to talk about how to get in touch with smaller groups, not even here, but anywhere you're moving to. If you're a seller and you're moving to Savannah, and you're going to go down to Savannah and hook up with a realtor, you need to be with small teams. And again, we're going to start talking about why. So we know how to identify the successful small teams in certain areas around the country, and that's who we refer people to when we refer them out. So let's talk about our fire team. When we go in and we're going to list a house, you have an old experienced agent, the principal, who is a lockdown expert on pricing. We're going to make sure that the price is priced correctly. Last year, we did $195 million. And our listing sold at 100.1% of their list price. So that's just my core competency. I can do two things. Actually, I can do three things. I can coach football, really like it, do a good job at that. I can really price houses, really like that, do a good job at that. And I make beautiful kids. I mean, I got three of the best looking kids you've ever seen in your life. And I'm not that good looking. I don't make my money because I'm good looking. I make money because I know how to price houses. And people come play for me because I'm a good coach. So my core competency when I come in and my contribution to this team is I'm going to set the protocol for how we're going to do this over the years, and I'm going to make sure that it's priced correctly. And believe it or not, and even my agents will go with me to a lot of these. And when I don't go and we don't price it, sometimes we don't price where I want to price it at. It's one thing to know what the house should sell for. It's another to get the seller to list it at that number. So, I've got to be there to talk to the seller, understand the situation, give them the pricing information, convince them that this is the right place to price houses. And when I was young, I went in 30-something. I was probably smarter than I am right now, but I had a hard time listing houses because did not have gray hair. I was not a 30-something, young 30-something. It's hard to tell a 50, 60, or 70-something what they need to do on pricing their home. They don't have the time in the business. So in comes what I call the blue hair, me. So you come in, you have the experience, you talk to the seller, we feel good about where we're going, what we're doing. We know what our protocol is all about. Now the other person sitting at the table, not literally but figuratively, is Julie. And Julie is on this team. And once we have the listing, Julie is going to get the pictures, package it up, get on social media, do all of this kind of brochures and things like that, wants to show the house, and we say that our houses are stars. Julie and Michelle make our houses stars. So Julie's figuratively sitting at the table. Michelle is figuratively sitting at the table, and she's a communications expert. And what she does is she communicates back and forth with the seller, but keeps the line of communications over by giving them reports every week about all the work Julie's been doing on social media. How many people see the property? How many people look at it? What is the Twitter response? And we can gauge how many times that's getting clicked through. So those reports are vital to the communication between my team and that seller. So we've got a marketing arm, we have a communications arm. Not sitting at the table, figuratively, we have those on our little team that's going to have this house. The most important person we have sitting across from me is going to be what we call an alt agent, or an alternative agent is what the MLS calls it. That's why we call them alt agents. You can't list a house without an alt agent, without a really good alt agent. So what do they bring to the table? Well, they're normally 30-somethings. They have a taste for what the buyers are looking for. They know the community that we're in. In other words, I go and list a house for $1.4 million on Valley Drive in Vienna. All right, well, the person sitting across from me just sold Charles Street right around the corner for $1.45 million. They have the book of business, the people that walk through, the open house, the comments. They can go toe-to-toe with comparing this house to that house. So that alt agent is important. Now, what else do they bring to the table is they are going to make sure that they're going to do the open house. They're going to give feedback to the sellers. They're going to handle contracts that come in, and they're going to follow our contract protocol when they come in. Now, I'll oversee it, but they can handle all that themselves, okay? So when a buyer comes in, this is a very important part of this, by the way. This is a critical part of listing houses for all of our realtors and for sellers as well. A buyer is going to come in and they're going to give you feedback, and the feedback sounds something like this. Well, the basement's kind of small. And our response back, and BCC the seller, let them know that we're, what we're doing. We're going to say, we absolutely, totally agree with you. The basement is a disadvantage. I mean, it's a little small. However, there's a movie room that is worth $25,000 down there, and it is a walkout, and it does walk out to a $150,000 to $200,000 pool area with brick and patios and all that other stuff, which is not priced into the house. So you might not get the basement you're looking for, but you get the movie room and you get all the pool area, no charge. So, we need to defend. Plus, here's all the benefits of this house. Blah, 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 blah. So I can't do that. I just don't have the time or the energy. Neither can an individual agent. An individual agent has $93 million worth of listings on the book. Do you honestly think they can sit down with every person that looks at a house and get back to them and defend that house to anyone that sees it? Do you think they could follow up like that? Do you think they can give reports like that? Do you think with two part-time assistants, do you think they can actually market it on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook like it should be? So again, another reason why I chose a short team instead of an individual, or a small. I'm sorry, did I say short team? Yeah, we're not short. You're pretty tall, 6'2" team. Small team versus big team or versus an individual. So that alt agent is going to be defending the house, getting the buyers back, wheeling and dealing. When we have multiple contracts, which come in on 65% of our houses, they know. Let me give you an example. My brother Pat. So Pat is an alt agent in Falls Church. We listed for $850. We're hoping for $875. It's worth $860. It will appraise for $860,000. Hey, remind me to bring up the pricing thresholds, will you, before I go? So we know we're going to get multiple contracts. I think it's worth about $860, maybe even a little bit higher. So we're going to put on for $850. Why? Because under $850 has a buyer pool this big. Over $850 has a buyer pool this big. So we really want to get that bigger buyer pool. So that's why, and again, I'll say it right now. I don't know why I look in the computers and see somebody list a house at $859. Why would anybody list a house at $859? You just took your buyer pool and went from here to here. The job of a realtor is to get as many people in the house exposed to that house as possible. You don't know that $850 is as high as they can go. They're just searching $850 and below. I can guarantee you everybody that buys a house spends 10% more than they thought they were going to spend when they first went out looking. So we bring them in at $850. Pat starts bidding. Well, every 2-3 hours, I'm getting an update. Okay, I got an $860. I got the $865. Okay, we got $875. We're up to $900,000. We're at $915. By the next day at noon, we were at $917,000 on an $850,000 house. Now, that spurns a show. Are you ready for this, guys? This is it. Are you ready? This is a real estate, what do you call them? Reality show? You've seen $1 Million Agent? That's all a bunch of BS. I don't buy a lot of that. But listen to this. If you had a show called Highest and Best, right, which we encourage highest and best offers, put it just below what it's worth, get that big threshold, and then let everybody fight it out. Well, that period is pretty exciting over those people bidding that house up. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But bidding the house up, and literally we had Colby and Morgan get one from $750 to $820 all cash. On Creek Crossing, it went from $750 to, I think it was $790 all cash, no contingencies. So when you get people bidding on houses, it becomes very exciting. The seller is in control, okay? They're in control of the transaction. They have all the leverage over the home inspection and all that stuff. So that alt agent is critical in getting the offers highest and best, and sometimes in these cases it could be $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 over. Now, somebody said, well, it's probably worth $900,000. Praise for $862. We got 917. Appraised for 862. Exactly where I said it was going to come in for. So there's two real numbers. One, what is it going to appraise for? Two, what is it going to sell for? Two entirely different numbers. And you have to look at comps. But then on the other hand, you have to look at inventory and demand. So it's not unusual that we would put a house on, like I said, 65% sell in the first weekend. Almost all of them have multiple contracts and will bid over list price. So the seller will then say, well, I really don't want to sell for $850. I really want to get $860. What happens if we put it on and I only get $850? Well, if you only get $850, you know what your house is worth? $850,000, because the maximum amount of people have come through that house. You've had big traffic, and if 40 people come through your house and $650 or $850 is what they offer you, that's what your house is worth. The job is to find out what your house is worth. Then the seller needs to decide, do I want to sell or do I not want to sell? Do I want to just wait a year or two? Problem is, whatever you're going to buy next is going at the same rate you're going at. So we're going just like this. So it doesn't matter whether it's at this time, we're going to find out the highest number a home is worth. That's all you can do. That's all a realtor can do. And let me give you a perfect example. I'm going to give you a flat-out perfect example of this. So I have a seller, and we sell a house for $875,000. I list it for $875,000. That's basically what it's worth. A person comes in to the open house. She wants to buy that house. She's lost 6 contracts, multiple bid contracts. So I call her up and I say, I need your highest and best offer. She offered $875,000. I need your highest and best offer. And she was a little distraught that there's multiple contracts, but I said, just give me your highest and best offer. I'll make every effort to make sure that you win this house. She brought in $917,000. So she upped her own bid, $42,000, and there were no other contracts in. There was no other contracts promised. I didn't say there was. I just said I need highest and best offer Monday. So she did $42,000 more. The next door neighbor says, you're the magic man, put mine on for $925,000. And I said, no, $875,000. So eventually we put it on for $925,000. We all do stupid stuff, right? Stupid. I never should have put it on for $925,000, but I did. She got like $850,000, had $12,000 in home inspection items because it was on for like 90 days. It was the most painful listing period of all time. And she goes, you got that magic touch, make it work. The magic touch was $875,000 and getting them to bid up. That was the magic. You missed it. That was the magic. So believe it or not, and I make this statement all the time, and it's true, and I prove it all the time, is the lower you price your house, the more money you're going to get. And sellers are concerned that they're going to leave some money on the table. And they're not going to leave money on the table because people will bid it at or above what it's actually going to be worth, what it's actually going to appraise for. So I want the sellers to know, and again, if I had 20 agents, do you honestly think the message is going to get across to those sellers in that way? If I had 20 or 30 agents? No. So what's going to happen? I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to have a 3-year agent walk in there if I had 40 agents. I'm going to have an agent walk in there, and instead of listing for $850 like it should, they're going to list for $925. And then what's going to happen? It's going to sit. It's going to sit. It's going to sit. And then eventually, it's going to expire and withdraw. Now, your house has a black mark on it because it's expired or withdrawn. Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted your house. So it scares buyers when they see that a home has been on a couple times. They figure they're dealing with one of two things: a bad house or an unrealistic seller, and both of them are bad. Both of them are bad. So if you're going to go to the ball, you got to get dressed up really nice, put on some lipstick. You cannot go to the ball and not look your best. You can't. This is not 1985 where we test a number and then wait around and 60, 90 days later, we'll sell the house. That's not the way it works today. The buyers today are 30-something. They're very smart. They're very educated. They're on the thing. They see everything about your house. They see it was on the market for 60, 90 days. They see you withdrew it. They know everything about your house. They're very smart. Now, you can play that to your advantage by saying, okay, they're very smart. They're looking. They're on there. And when they see it, they're going to move really fast. And when they do move fast, maybe they're not the most experienced, you can get them to bid up. If a wife looks at a husband and says, I want that house, and he's going to make sure she gets that house. And he might make a mistake. Now, he's going to regret it in his 40s and 50s, but he might make that mistake in his 30s. So we're going to put them in a position where the seller has the leverage, and we encourage the bidding, and the bidding goes up. And that's the way it is. And if your house doesn't sell at $550,000, it's not worth $550,000. Your increments that you drop are at $25,000 increments. If you go from $550,000 to $535,000, you're still in the same buyer pool. The buyer pool doesn't change until you get to the next threshold, which is at $25,000, so $525,000 or whatever. So the makeup of our team, a small team, and how we operate is principal, 2 full-time, can I say badass on Facebook? Badass professionals on either side, and right in front of me sits the alt agent. The alt agent is the one that is the key to the whole transaction and making everything happen, bringing in the expertise, the local expertise, and all of that. So that's the way our fire teams work. Now, we have 7 fire teams. So it may be Pat Samson sitting in front of me. It may be Kelly Samson sitting in front of me, or Colby Smith sitting in front of me, or Pam Mooney sitting in front of me. Shayna. It's one of, and if somebody calls an Oak Hill on a $650,000 place, I'll bring in somebody that lives in Oak Hill and has been there for 30 years and knows the market and sold 100 houses in there. That's who's sitting across from me. They are vital to the transaction. I can come in with all of the global real estate knowledge and pricing knowledge, but I need the local knowledge. I need what are the defining characteristics of this house? Let me give you an example. So in Vienna, where I'm from, so I am the one that knows the local knowledge on that, in that Vienna Elementary, there's a difference between pricing houses in Vienna Elementary, Marshall Road, Cunningham, Wolf Trap, Flint Hill. So, what's the defining characteristics of a house that determines price? Square footage, age, 1 mile radius. Those are the defining characteristics. Now, in Vienna, it may be elementary school. In Centerville, it may be high school. I mean, the difference between a Centerville high school house and a Westfield high school house, there is a difference. There's a difference in those two high schools. There's a difference in 4 elementary schools. In Falls Church, remember I gave you the example of 850 going to 916, 17? The reason it got there was parents were fighting over Haycock Elementary School. It wasn't high school. It was Haycock Elementary School. They wanted their kids, remember, they're 30-something. That's their buying time. They may go into a condo, but then when they get a family, they want to buy a house. They want to buy a house when the kids are 2, 3, 4 years old. They're going to live in that house. Their elementary schools are critical to them, and high schools. So, the defining characteristics are, what is the square footage of that house? Now, in 1985, there were a lot of houses built that were 2,400 square feet. Within 1 mile radius, what do those houses sell for? Now, therein lies the key. You get some water in there somewhere. Get some water. Which one am I looking at here? So the defining characteristics. Why can I go to Iowa? I swear to God, they had to take me in a plane. I'm not jumping out of the plane. I'm land that plane. But you could put me in Iowa, and as long as I have the MRIS, and the tax records for a region, I can price that house. And I'll get you into a range, okay? Now, why is there a range on all houses? If you look at a hurricane traffic, a hurricane will come in here, and then all of a sudden it'll have the cone, everything from North Carolina to New York. So the more that hurricane goes, the more the cone widens. The same thing happens with pricing. Let's say we were built in 1985, and the houses are fairly similar in price. But as we go along, thank you very much. As we go along, one person is updating their house and another is letting it deteriorate. So the cone goes all the way from updated and upgraded to deteriorated. So you have in the middle, you have what's called customary. This is customary for a house of this location. Customary condition, customary cabinets, customary master bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchens. Then you have extraordinary. Oh my gosh, that's going to be a premium price. And you have the homes that have no updated, and they have their price called as-is houses. So here's where it goes. So I could tell you baseline, as long as I had those instruments, I could tell you baseline what the base price of that house should be. Okay. Now, whether it's extraordinary or customary or inferior, is you need a local alt agent to sit with me and say, is it customary to have granite on countertops for a $425,000 house in this area? It is not. Floor mica or whatever they use, that's more customary. So there are some customary things I would need to know from a local realtor. But can I tell you what the baseline house of a 2,400 square foot house built in 1985 is in Des Moines, Iowa? Bet your ass I can. I'm only going out a mile. It has the same traffic, employment centers, schools. It has everything. So could I do it? No problem. I'll give you the base price. Now, I need to see the house. I need to see if it's extraordinary or inferior, and I could absolutely 100% put a price on that house. And you can put me anywhere you want. So, and the reason for that is, I mean, our sphere of influence in Northern Virginia, so the Wall Street Journal came out, and according to them, the small team category of teams that are only 10 and below, so we would be number one, the number one team in Fairfax, Loudoun, and Prince William County. So in that area, we're number one. In Old Town Alexandria, there are two teams that are as big as we are. One's a little bigger. Excellent teams. So, you know, if somebody was going to say, I want to go buy a house, or I need to sell a house, or I have a friend or a mother or a father or a relative that wants to sell a house in Old Town Alexandria, call me. I'll put them in touch with the right agents. If you have somebody that wants to sell something in Fredericksburg, call me. I'll find the right agents. We'll find the right small teams. So it's so important that you deal with the right people. And again, when you list your house, you just don't have the neighborhood person. You don't have a person whose picture's in the newspaper. You need to have today's best success chance. So I would go to Gainesville, Florida, and I would research 7 teams. And one team is going to have a 96% success rate, and 70% of their houses are going to be under contract. That's who we're going to deal with. Because around here, if I gave you 3 teams, or 3 groups, this lady, and it could be a guy too, guy, lady. By the way, 2 top are, one's a guy, one's a woman, and yeah, similar results. Big team, I hear them on the radio all the time. Or a small team, which is just your number one choice, and they basically work off, you know, they have their own system of and remind me about the cold calling stuff. And that small team, you know, they've built a reputation because the principal's still in on every transaction. They're dealing with every transaction. They just have a helper in there. Now, there are small teams out there. Not all are the same. Some small teams, their model is, our model is Julie, myself, and Michelle, we're going to go ahead and generate the calls. We're going to generate the business through our marketing efforts. I want my agents, my alt agents, I want them focused on selling houses, selling our listings, working with buyers. Let me give you an example. Some teams will have their agent call 40, 50, 60, 70 times. Nothing wrong with that. That's their model. That's their model, and that works for them, and they're very successful doing that. But I want my agents fresh. I want my agents ready when somebody calls at 5 o'clock during the Redskin-Dallas game, and they're in town, and they want to see one of our listings. The agent's got to go show them that house, even during the Dallas Redskin game. And that's what happened. But you know what? If that person had made 100 phone calls that day, do you think they have the energy to, A, follow up with all the listings agents, defend the listing to anybody that's seen it, market the property, do open houses, and show the house anytime somebody wants to see it? You get phone calls at any time, even during the Redskin-Dallas game. So I want my agents fresh. I want them focused and fresh. I'll handle the marketing. You just go ahead and manage these houses. And that way, if I have 7 great agents and each one of them only have 4 properties, it's 28 properties at a time. But that's manageable and it's scalable, and I can stand on every one of them, and I can be there for every listing appointment. I can be there for every pricing. So, in my opinion, the reason we chose small team over big team or over individual was the scalability, the success rate. Again, like I said, I'm a football coach, so 85% of my houses sell within the first 30 days. That's good. That's just really good, because I'll tell somebody this is what you need to sell your house for, and they may list it a little higher. Now, one of the reasons why we charge 4.5% instead of 6% is because we can. I don't take bad listings. So if somebody wants to list it for too high a price, I just won't do it. If it's in bad condition, I just won't do it. We're more effective with people that put a lot of time and energy to make sure their house is in saleable condition and are reasonable about their pricing. If that's the way you are, then we're the people that can do it. And we do it at 4.5 instead of 6. I just don't waste time. I don't take bad listings. So, but even that, 15% of our houses may take 30, 60, 90 days to sell because they want to test a number and then we'll come down and then we'll come down. But I'm telling you, that 15% is the wrong way to do it. The 65 that sell in the first weekend are the right way to do it. The 85 sell within the 30-day mark. That's the right way to do it as well. So, in summary of today's show, what I want to say is there's a huge decision that has to be made prior to listing a house. Individual agent, big agent. Individual or team, big team, or small team. And I am telling you that we will refer our clients to, now if you're doing anything, selling or buying in Fairfax County, Loudoun County, Prince William County, we're the group. We can definitely do it. We got great, first of all, as far as listings are concerned, perfect. But if you called me up and said, I have a father, he wants to sell a house in Old Town Alexandria, please tell me who the best person is to do. Immediately I put you in touch with the right agent. And I put you in touch with their small team there, or in Fredericksburg, or in Montgomery County, or wherever. And if I don't know that key small team, I'll find them. We'll find them. So, henceforth, even real estate professionals, I don't think are keen to the fact that there's a difference between teams, small team and big team. And we want to draw that delineation that there's a huge difference. 70% under contract versus 2% under contract. There is a huge difference on whether it's individual, big team, small team. Same way when it comes to success rate of selling houses. Can you imagine? Now just think of this for a second. This big team has 339 houses they listed and did not sell. 339 houses they listed and didn't sell. The small team that did, $57 million, they had $2 million that expired or withdrawn. And we run into things all the time where, they're testing, they'll just pull it off the market. So to say that you sold 96% of your houses is extraordinary. It is off the charts. Give you an example. We have 2 people. We put their house on the market. We got a contract. We got a bunch of contracts. It was a great price. Everything was fine. The wife lost her job. They can no longer buy the house that they want to buy. We have to pull the house off the market. That is withdrawal. So situations change. Things happen. Guys lose their, the job. They were going to go to San Francisco. They're not going to go to San Francisco anymore. They're just going to stay here, stay put. So there's a reason for some expireds, but 339, 53%, that's not good. So before you decide on who you're going to use, decide on what you're going to use. One of those 3, okay? What else do we have, guys? Anything else? Huh? Cold calling. Again, the thing about cold calling is, I tell our agents, we have 3 things. We have time, we have energy, and we have money, okay? So if you take your time and energy and you spend it cold calling when somebody calls on one of the listings that I've teamed up with you on, are you ready for that? You have the energy for that? You have the time for that? Do you really have the energy? Well, that's why I tell my agents, you can't, don't kill yourself. You can't kill yourself. You have to pace yourself because you have to be ready when that phone call rings, you go. Now let's talk about our team working with other agents. So remember how I said we have that fire team? We have me, and then you have Julie, then you have Michelle, then you got the alt agent. Well, other agents come to us and say, hey, I don't have what you have. I don't have the pricing expertise. I don't have the, track record. I don't have all that. I don't have Julie and I don't have Michelle. Can we all partner up and do something? The answer is yes, we can. So we partner with agents from Samson, okay? I like using my alt agents because they know my systems all the way through. So can they do all of it? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes they just refer it to us and we put the fire team together and we do it. So sometimes we will get them in and sometimes we will not. Now, the reason why we don't always partner with our agents fully is you're taking that alt agent that's learned every negotiation strategy, how we get out of home inspections, how we handle appraisers, how we handle, all the things they do, and kind of discounting that by saying, well, anyone can do that. No, that's not right. That's not true. Not every agent knows how to call on a person that says your basement's too small. Not every agent knows how to get us out of home inspections. Not every agent knows how to get us out of appraisal issues. Not every agent knows. See, so for me to say, come on in, and we'll just have you replace the alt agent, is basically saying that alt agent, you know as much as they do, and they just don't, because we spend a lot of time every week training our agents on every aspect of what we do, so that after a while they've got it. We've got it locked down, and we're humming. So sometimes I'll say, we just have to refer that in, and we'll make sure we close it and send you a check. We do put them on the email chain so they can watch how the alt agent does it and what kind of negotiation strategies we do. So that is the way that we do work with the Samson Properties agents. So a couple things to take away. Number one, if you have a relative or a family member or somebody that's selling or doing something somewhere other than Fairfax County, Loudoun County, and Prince William County, let us know. We will find the correct small team anywhere in the country, and we will make sure that we lock them down with a successful small team. Because in here, a person that sells every 20 years don't really know who to use. They really need some expertise to pick that person out. So that's the first one. If you're an agent at Samson and you cannot competing against, and let me tell you something. The person has $55 million worth of listings and only $1 million is under contract. If she goes up against 99% of the agents, she's going to win. She's just going to win. She's just that good. She's going to win the listing appointment. And not against us. I mean, we win most of them. But the look and feel and presentation, and they say, well, this team said if they can't sell my house, they're going to buy my house. It's like, well, it didn't work 336 times last year. So 336 times, those listings expired or withdrew unsold. So something's wrong. I mean, something's not right. I really, it leaves a bad taste in my mouth when I hear something like that I'll buy your house if I can't sell it. And then I see you've got 339 expired listings. It just doesn't sit right with me, So let's make sure that our relatives and family and friends and people that we know have the right listing. And again, you may know somebody who's struggling to sell their house. And it is withdrawn or expired. 40% of the houses withdrawn or expired in Northern Virginia. Have them give us a call. If they need some help, we'd be happy to help them and get it done. We had one person that was moving to San Francisco. Their house was on the market for $2.29 million. And they called us up, and it was on for 1 year. You imagine for 1 year having a house on the market that long? And it was shown 2 times in 1 year. And I went in, and I said, well, your house is only worth $1.8 million. Why? Who decided to come up with $2.25 million, $2.29 million? And it was the other agent. So their family was really struggling, really when they should have been at the peak of their success. They had a beautiful home. He's got a big job with Salesforce.com. He's one of the big wigs out there. And yet they were in such distress. if you know someone in distress, please, life's too short. Have them give us a call, and we'll go ahead and take care of them after the house is off the market. We can't talk to them once their house is listed. I mean, while their house is listed. But, you know, if they really need some help, have them give us a call. That's why we're here. And they will meet with the principal, and they will meet with me, and we will price it where it should. And, you know, we're going to tell them not what they need to hear, or not what they want to hear, but what they need to hear. So, you know, if you have that issue, then give us a buzz. Did I miss anything, girls? What do we got? What time? All right, so I'm on for 1 hour. That was perfect, right? I told you this was going to be a colossal show. Huh? See how much you learned when you were here, guys? Huh? Leslie, would you ever work with anything other than a small team? Never. Well, you work for the whole company, so you got to say I work with everybody. But, you know, that's why, and I'll plug Samson Properties and people like Leslie, is Samson Properties does believe in the team concept. You have Leslie, who is, and Mac, who are experts in social media. So we're a big social media company. So the agents here, they do have a partner that they can work with Leslie and Mac, and get that done. They do have virtual assistants they can do with, you know, that they can use. I choose to work with, you know, 2 professionals that I can trust and I know and are with me 100% of the time. But I need to have 4 or 5 other agents to help me afford them and their services. So Samson Properties is growing like a weed, and it is because Danny has that team concept of bring in professionals that other people in the company can use to help them achieve their goals. So I will say this. Thank you very much, Michelle. You know, what you do for our sellers is massive. It is so valuable, keeping them informed. Every time I go into a house, and really, if you could see, though, let me just be honest with you. So this is how important your job is. So I go into this house, and, you know, good-looking guy, good-looking wife, good-looking, they got a beautiful house, most beautiful house I've ever seen. It's unbelievable. And they are so stressed out. They haven't heard from their agent in months. And they're just wrecked. I mean, they're wrecked. They can't get rid of this house. They can't sell it. Nobody wants it. Nobody will do this. Nobody will do that. Well, when we come in and you send them that report every week, that's like a godsend to them. They're like, they know that somebody's looking at their house. They know that somebody's viewing it. They know that they've got a video up and everybody, what did it look on Facebook? So what you do is really valuable to all of these sellers, you know? And I don't care if it's a $550,000 townhouse or it's a $1.5 or $2 million house. I mean, it is critical that they get that kind of communication. And the agent sees it too, and I see it. And if we look at something and they're not getting any views, they're not getting any traffic, I know we got a problem. Now, we're not going to wait around for 6 months. We're going to pull a Barney Fife, right? We're going to nip it in a bud. We're going to nip it in the bud, okay? Now, one other thing that I wanted to, now that I talk about Barney Fife, Seinfeldism. I got to give you one Seinfeldism. When you're building a team and when you're building a team together, it's not good to have somebody that's just like you. Well, if I had somebody that's just like me, I'd kill myself. I mean, I would literally kill myself if there was another me. So this is a Seinfeld episode where, remember when it was like Bizarro World, where there was alternate Jerry, Kramer, George, and then Elaine had to decide on which one she was hanging out with. And George goes, well, can't I come out and hang out with you guys? And she goes, we already have a George. We have a George. So it's the same thing. I wouldn't want another Casey on our team. I need alt agents that do what I don't do. I need professionals that are social media people that do things I don't do. So, you know, it's when you're teaming up, you need to make sure you have a gray hair that understands and is an expert on pricing and can help close deals. You need to have somebody with all the energy in the world, the buying knowledge, the 30-something that's got that knows the buyers, that know how to stage houses, that, you know, and then you need the professionals in here that do what, you know, that do what they do. So don't team up with somebody that, if you're a George, don't go get another George. If you're a Kramer, don't get another Kramer. Good Lord, can you imagine 2 Kramers? So you need to find somebody that's complementary to what you do and who you are. And that's who you kind of want to team up with, okay? And Julie, I will say thank you to you. We've just launched a new website, caseysamson.com. We've been working on this for quite a while. It is Morgan came to work with us and said, your website is old and stale, and I took great offense to that and homage. And again, so when I walk into your house and I say something is old and stale, you know, it's just outdated. I feel you because my website looked great to me. And I'd worked a long time on that website, didn't we, Julie? That website was the cream of the crop. Nobody gets close to our website. And Morgan walked up to me and said, this website is outdated. You need to change it. I'm like, how dare you? She's my daughter, that's why I didn't hit her. How dare you say my website's outdated? And I looked at it, and I looked at, you know, what we were doing with the Spark pages and all. I said, yeah, it's really outdated. So Julie and I went, we spent a bunch of money, we got a new group, it's beautiful. So if you go to caseysamson.com, you're going to see a new state-of-the-art kind of website, and then that is the individual pages are for the houses are still in the Spark pages, but we should be rolling out the new ones next week sometime. So let's keep an eye on that. And this is how you present properties online. This is the new way you need to present properties online. Remember, 90% of the people that you see, they're going to see it for the first time online. So we need to be fresh. We need to look good. And I will just say this. I know I'm running over just a little bit. If you're going to have a team, you need to make sure that you evolve every year. The 2018 Casey Samson team would beat the living tar out of the Casey Samson team from 2017. And we make 2015 look like they were from 40 years ago. So, you know, Julie is always tasked, Michelle is always tasked with what can we do to make it even better for the sellers and the experience and the reporting and the communication and the online presentation and how do we get it out? Is it videos? Is it movies? Is it pictures? Is it Spark present? Julie is tasked with every year making herself from the year before obsolete. And that's where people like Leslie come in and help, because I asked for if we could do it some certain way, and Julie goes in to Leslie, and before I know it, Julie's and Leslie have the whole thing wired up and it looks great. So always make sure, because we grow fast, because technology is evolving, you always need to make sure, how am I going to utilize that technology and make myself better? And I will just say this, there's an individual agent, and I mean tell you, her brochures are the best brochures I've ever seen. They're awesome brochures. They're very good brochures. But the problem in today's world is 95% of the people, 98% of the people are going to see your house online. And a brochure really is good information, but it's not the end-all to do-all. So it is the online, it is the geofencing, it is the hashtags, it is the going after the buyers that are in the work, the employment centers that feed your place. They just announced that they made a big deal that Crystal City could be the new blah, blah, blah for Amazon. I'd kill myself, shoot myself in the head if Amazon comes to town. But that's all we need is Amazon in town. However, who really benefits from a Crystal City Amazon? Well, Vienna, Falls Church, Arlington. So people work 30 minutes to the west of where they work. Now, some of it's 45 and some of it's 50 or 60 or 70 an hour. So, but if you take an employment center, the farther west you go, or the farther away from the employment center you go, the less money you spend on housing. So the more house you can buy, the farther you go. So where's Crystal City? 30 minutes to the east. So the big beneficiary, or shoot myself in the head, would be, would be Vienna and Falls Church, and then out towards Chantilly and Centerville and Fairfax, that kind of area. So they were the ones that would absorb that. The only thing different than that is Tyson's Corner. The employment center of Tyson's Corner is going to, in my opinion, again, just my opinion, not that I'm crazy about it or anything, but the employment center of of Tyson's Corner, would it help Vienna or would it help McLean? Well, the reason why McLean houses are $200,000 more than Vienna houses is because they're closer to D.C. You chop off a 20-minute commute, and you're going to save you're going to make $200,000. Well, if the employment center at Tyson's Corner, he can go to the right 10 minutes and cost $1.5 million, or he can go to the left 5-10 minutes and cost him $1.2 million, he's going to go to the left. So Vienna, as far as the employment center of Vienna is Tyson's Corner is concerned, it will benefit Vienna over McLean. If they do go out in that Herndon area, and a lot of times people will look at me from Oak Hill and say, well, the CIA just has a big center here. That should help us. No, because your $650,000 house is worth about $525 if you just go 30 minutes to the west. So that's who's going to benefit from the employment centers. So I dragged that on a little bit. Sorry about that. All right, guys, thank you very much, Julie and Leslie and Michelle. Thanks to our alt agents, Pat Samson, who's awesome. Kelly is incredible. Shayna and Pam Mooney are as solid as you get, some of the best agents in here. You have Colby and Morgan, which are young hot hitters. We have Billy Sampson, who is a genius that we pulled over. His financing and his negotiation skills are off the chart. Did I miss anyone? Good. Because if I say cut and you say I missed somebody, I'm going to have to go back on the air. I got to start this all over again. All right? Okay, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll have this up on caseysampson.com. We'll put it in the blog. Or you can go to Casey Sampson, the Casey Sampson team Facebook website. Huh? And YouTube. We're on YouTube too. Is it a Casey Sampson channel on YouTube? So you just say this Casey Sampson team or Casey Sampson. Okay, and look at that Marine Corps video when you're on there too. See if you can recognize the young 20-year-old that's up front with the sword barking all the orders. Just take 80 pounds off here, and that's what he looks like. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you again next month.